Have you ever thought of what your reaction to something negative would be before it happens? Do you preempt thoughts such as those? When an experience or thing isn't what we needed it to be, not in our favor for want of a better concept, how do we respond in that moment? Let's talk about redirection in today's episode of Chronicles with Stephie. Welcome everyone. Think of a word, a positive word, and it may just be a chronicle shared in this space. Let's make life more meaningful. Beautiful people of the world, hello and welcome back to another episode of Chronicles with Stephie. I am your host, Stephie. I hope you have been doing well. I hope that this week has been, as per usual, going according to the plan that the good Lord has in store for you. I hope that even if it's not in your favor, even if there has been some semblance of rejection, you will just try to pivot and try to see it in a different light and try to, understand that it's just only for your redirection. See what I did there? But happy to be back as per usual in this space on the internet where we are just here trying to curate a meaningful experience to make life just feel a little bit more positive and a little bit more meaningful. So if this is something that you think you'll enjoy, or if you just enjoy listening to my voice, let's get into today's episode. It's Chronicles with Stephie, Season 4, Redirection Chronicles. So I recently had to deal with 3 difficult situations in the past week. One included my entire family, as they had to deal with an ordeal of Mother Nature, that being a Category 4 hurricane in my home country of Jamaica. The second was establishing intentional boundaries with friends. And the third would have been a job application rejection. I will not dive too much into all 3, but they did aid in forming the basis of today's chronicle, and I will share with you why. Now, all 3 scenarios are vastly different, and rightly so. Can't compare Mother Nature to, affairs of interpersonal relations and, of course, professional relations. So all 3 scenarios are vastly different and absolutely unrelated to each other. But with the first experience, it was out of my control. Again, rightly so. I did not have a hand in dealing those cards, as I am not God. And I do not govern this world or the people in it. So, I just simply surrendered in prayer and asked God to cover my entire family and loved ones. And of course, my country. Because of course, once a yadi, forever a yadi. Okay, evermore, forevermore I shall be. Anywhere my day in this world. Jamaica, big up yourself every time. So I had no control over that situation. So I just had to pray and surrender. The second experience was tough, I was sharing a little bit, So though I'm able to essentially love persons from a distance, I don't necessarily enjoy the feeling of closing chapters or closing the door in my life. But again, some things you don't have any control over, because it invokes a sense of purpose. You get to experience people from all walks of life. Of course, some seasons do end with people and you just have to accept that. But I choose people, and I choose them and who I let into my life, So I choose people who I let into my life, and I do let them know that it is a privilege to be a part of my life. And likewise, I hope that everyone who encounters me, they are knowledgeable that it is a privilege, to have me or anybody else in their life as well. So I do let persons know that it is just but a privilege. That's just me, and I tend to call human lives, I tend to value them very greatly because, after all, we're all new to each other. We're all strangers to each other until we're not. And then, we experience life and living together. So therefore, I think we should just hold each other up in the same manner as Christ does with all of us, which is that in love. So that was the second thing. And then the third, again, I had no control over the outcome, and naturally I would have loved for it to go in my favor, but the rejection, is and just was necessary, because all of these experiences have just taught me and has led me, I guess, into disseminating this chronicle today. And this chronicle, again, is known as Redirection. So pay attention and let's get into it. Now, to be very honest, the chronicle written down for this week was never redirection. Let me just confess that right now. The chronicle for this week was motivation. Which, let me just tell you right now, I have a lot of it this week, thankfully. But, God woke me up, as always. And as always in my morning prayers, I let him know that I am surrendering to him. I'm surrendering to him, and I asked for him to lead my day and life as he always does. He's the great shepherd. I'm just mere sheep. I asked God the morning of writing this episode to grant unto me, the words of inspiration that I needed for the people to hear. Well, for his people to hear. I just asked him to put aside self. So put me aside. Move me out of the way, Lord. Keep me out of the way, man. And let your presence come forth. So I asked him, what do you need them to hear? Let me speak it. Now, I framed my mind at the beginning of writing and recording. I frame my mind to commence writing and recording, and usually I just sit down and I just jump straight into however, I jump straight into it however. But on this particular morning, I stopped to check my email first, and well, of course, the rest is history, because I just gave the 3 scenarios that would have redirected me in writing this chronicle as opposed to the motivation chronicle. So all that was in my mind to speak on regarding motivation, it just disappeared instantly. I sat with it, and surprisingly, I had no need to cry, meaning the rejection. I sat with it, when I read my email. I simply just, after that, just looked around my house. I looked around my entire house, and I said, Lord, you know what you're doing. I was rejected, but I'm not rejected. Ooh, that's a word right there. Yeah, I was rejected, and in that moment, I felt rejected, but I looked around and I was just reminded that I'm not rejected. And well, this isn't a rejection, but it's my redirection. It's absolutely my redirection. Saying this again, it's just like, girl, you've got this. What's coming for you? Nothing can stop, not even a category 4 hurricane. And if you know, man, because I'm telling you, sometimes the enemy has a way to wiggle his snake head into yours and God's business. Him not have no business for the day, but him wiggle him little slime himself there. And I'm telling you, those thoughts will make you feel less than. And that was not about to happen to me, because there's just too much at stake with my life for me to give into the schemes and dirty tricks of what I know is not for me. So it makes no sense, cry up a spoiled milk. But let me tell you though, having that mental resilience and power over your mind to not sing and wallow or sit and wallow in self-pity, it is not easy. Especially when it's like a tumbling block over a tumbling block, or a stumbling block over a stumbling block, one packed or stacked on top of the other. It's not easy. It takes practice, because I could have not recorded this episode. I could have not recorded this chronicle. I could have sat for the entire morning, and I could have just simply said, oh God, why me? Why didn't you so and so? Why did the hurricane have to go where my family is? How egotistical is that? Why is setting these needed boundaries with friends so arduous? Why on earth would you not promote me into this job I applied for? I mean, the list is so exhaustive and extensive. But it would sincerely be a why me type thing for the rest of the week. I looked around my house, not specifically for anything, but just the reassurance that, all things are working out for my good. Because guess what? I love the Lord. I love how cool my life is. I love how I am blessed and favored. I love that I have intentional, human beings surrounding me. I love that I'm earning an income in spite of my need to elevate. I love that I get to sing and laugh and record this podcast. I love that I get to dance and pray and read and eat, 'cause girl over belly. I love that I get to dream and just be a living, breathing human, enjoying this, my spiritual existence at the same time. And it is with this sense of peace and mental fortitude that again was not achieved on a whim or overnight. I stayed down on bended knees, gems. I stayed down on bended knees. I stayed down in my word, just pleading and crying out to the Most High to evolve my mindset. Like, let me not be a victim in my own mind, especially when I don't get my own way. And believe me, as a last child, I'm a spoiled rotten. I'm used to getting my own way. But to just redirect my mind when I don't get my own way, when things don't go in my favor, redirect my thoughts to think above, to think higher than this circumstance or that encounter. Now, I speak about redirection today, again, not because I came up with it on my own accord. Because remember, I told you I asked God, what do you need me to speak so that your people can hear? So essentially, it was because God needed me to release the feelings of rejection that I was encountering at that time and welcome His redirection. Now, it may go over a lot of your heads, believe you me, especially if you're not sharing the same sentiments at this time. It may go over a lot of your heads because you've not experienced the same exact thing that I have experienced. But it is my hope you're able to relate to it in some way, shape, or form. And I'll give it to you like this, because this literally been a topic of other person's sermons, and I did not actually know that it would ever come up in mine. But you see, God at work. In the book of Genesis, I say this almost every episode. I'm not gonna stop. I will never stop saying this. God take up on a Bible. Not to please me, but to have a deeper understanding most times of what I do or I try to convey. Because let's face facts, people, my episodes are at best 15 to 20 minutes. So please do not come here for the teaching of your lifetime, because you won't get it. Okay, if I am able to have the privilege of preparing these episodes in the way that God intends, through reading his word and praying to him through my Lord and Savior, I think you owe it to yourselves to develop a deeper understanding for yourselves. And I mean, hey, just start taking up your word or listening to it, but just start. Come on, people, let's level up in Christ as well. Okay, let's level up in our word. But again, in the book of Genesis, the story has been told since my eyes were at my knees. Everybody knows the story about Joseph. If you don't know the story about Joseph, the Lord be with you. But Joseph, great and wonderful Joseph, who for no other reason than that of envy and bad mind, he was sold into slavery by his own brothers. Wow, let that sink in. By his own people, his own flesh and blood sold him to the Ishmaelites, who then took him to Egypt and handed him over to Potiphar. If you don't know the story, I encourage you now to go and read it so you have a better understanding. But you know what happened though? Do you know what came as a result of that? Joseph, being a man of God and having had his talents from early on out, stood 10 toes and kept on keeping on. He interpreted his dreams, but more importantly, he revealed it to those who needed to know. And through God's favor upon his life, let me just divert for a little teeny tiny second. Let me just run on a quick tangent and say this before closing out this episode. Revealed it to those who needed to know is what essentially Joseph did. But God's favor was upon his life. The favor of the Lord is real, gems. And it is upon all those who seek, ask, and believe it. Trust me. Whether you're an avid follower of Christ, kudos to you. Which he just loves, by the way. He absolutely just loves. Or if you're like me, and I will confess, I have no qualms in terms of confessing this, whether you're on a continuous journey with him to get there, to be that avid follower of Christ. So when you're on that continuous journey with him, and I mean it when I say quote unquote until you get there, because for you may not think that you're there, but for God you are. To the world, and we're not really business with the world. The world is the world, people. Don't let the world capture your thoughts and hold them hostage. So, because for me, I know, baby. I know I'm going to get quote unquote there. For me, I don't think I'm there, but I'm going to get there. One day I'll be able to recite the Bible. I'll be able to recite this entire Bible one day. You just watch. But to digress, see how far this tangent is going? But to digress, his favor is real and upon you. Certain things meant for your harm didn't happen because, well, his favor again. And that's, all I'm going to say. I'm not going to go too deep into that because I just had a thought that maybe, favor should be a chronicle. But hey, let's get back to our regular scheduled programming, guys. But God's favor never left Joseph because, well, he never left God. And we're guilty of that as human beings. We are so boggled down by life's woes, life's highs, life's consumerism that we don't even realize it, but we just slowly deviate and on our own accord redirect ourselves away from what we learn, from what we know to be righteous and true. But Joseph didn't. Joseph made sure that God was in his situation and vice versa. As a matter of fact, that reminds me of a song. Not too much of a tangent, but it reminds me of a song. It's called Situation by Jonathon McReynolds. Yeah. So give that a quick listen. So give that a quick listen. And that solidifies my point. That song or that word situation. Chronicle. I'm on a roll today. That these three situations of mine, I'm not going to lie, they felt overwhelming because they were real, of course. And they felt unbearable, especially the hurricane one. My family is involved in that. But look at God doing his godly works. What was sent to do harm or destruction, which let's face it, in some aspects that did happen, but hey, it didn't kill us. We ain't dead. It was not so devastating that we fell into the rejection of not getting a week full of sunshine and no rain. the rejection of blurred lines and unspoken truths with friends, and lastly, the rejection of not getting the job but being redirected to not necessarily better, but most importantly, what God has ordained for me. Redirection is not a new concept. So what I'm trying to help us all, including myself, to understand is the mindset that we need to curtail life's rejections. It is our mindset that we will hopefully exercise, and I mean start exercising all of the brain cells gems, not just the ones that always makes us feel good, but the ones that actually require us to think. You know, the cerebrum. Half of y'all don't even know what it is, and it's a shame. It is a shame. But start using your brain to think of situations that require your redirection. Know that in Proverbs 16 verse 9 it states, a man's heart plans his course, but the Lord determines his steps. Likewise in Proverbs 19:21, many plans are in a man's heart, but the purpose of the Lord will prevail. Our ways are not our own. So when something doesn't occur in the way we need it to, does it mean it wasn't for our own good? And don't get me wrong, yes, it is a bitter taste at first. We will probably, what are the emotions that humans exhibit? We will cry, we will get angry, we will shout, we will question, we will even curse, we will ridicule. You know, we'll feel pity, we'll feel burdened by it. And you know, whatever else emotions we will impart towards that which didn't go in our favor. But it wasn't meant to. That's the key takeaway. It's rejection for a reason. Even situations that for years are such a repetitive theme or experience in our lives, it feels like it's a never-ending cycle, a constant loophole. It isn't God saying He has rejected you or that life is constantly attacking you. And yes, trust me, because a girl knows. I've had a thing or two happen to me. But rather, this is a test or a lesson. How do you plan to ask me, God, to help you, my child, learn the lesson? To feel the experience, not only sit in it, but to feel it, to grow through it, and have it as your testimony. Life doesn't belong to us, but we should definitely be grateful to the one who gives it. The job that will replace you in a split second, it doesn't belong to us. But we should definitely not show up late and grumble every day, but thank the one who prepared it and has us remain in it until He says when. This world isn't our forever home, but we should definitely start taking better care of it. Our children don't belong to us. We have them for but a time, so we should absolutely train up a child in the way that they should go. We don't belong to each other either, but we are to unconditionally love and uphold each other. And rejection. Rejection will occur, but one thing's for certain, two things for sure, it does not belong to us. And it will always, always lead us to our redirection. Nothing lasts forever. Nothing, including our experiences, albeit good, bad, and indifferent. Our mindset will help us to leverage the rejection for our redirection. I'll say that again. Our mindset will help us to leverage the rejection for our redirection. Now, I have zero ideations what you or your family or your friends may currently be facing. I won't begin to pretend that I have a clue and that we share the same feelings towards this chronicle, but what I do know is rejection is the refusal of something, while redirection is the assigning something to a new purpose. Let's reject that old mentality of pity and victimization and welcome the assignment of a new purpose, a new mindset that we are living proof of what holding on can do. Hold on to your minds, but most importantly, never cease in holding on to God. He will direct and redirect you as many times as He needs to for your own good. As per usual, peace and love and light, and keep praying. Keep praying. Keep on keeping on. And I'll see you all in the next episode. Bye, everyone.